And to help us get with it, former NBA champ, as a player, of course, he won one with the Spurs. Terrific coach as well. Won 74% of his games with Dallas. I mean, won a lot there for sure. He's an analyst for CBS Sports HQ, coached in college, Big Three. The general, little general, Avery Johnson. Coach, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing? And don't forget, I'm an analyst also for CBS Sports Network.
Listen, Coach, you got 9 paychecks. My bad. I only hit 8 of them.
Hey, diversify that income. That's the way to do it, man.
Not mad at you. Avery's no dummy. Hey, Coach, let me start with this. So, watching the game last night, Clippers, and we all know they underachieved a year ago. There wasn't great cohesion. It just seemed and we know the reasons, I think, because we've talked about them, but it just didn't go the way we thought it might go. They changed coaches. Things are going pretty well this year. They're playing a red-hot Nets team, a team they could conceivably meet in the finals. Avery, as the coach, I understand there's minute restrictions here. He played 32, and you had 2 more minutes to go in the game at a 2-possession game, 1 possession at that point. How do you look your team in the eye and say we're legitimately chasing a championship when you put Paul George on ice the last 2 minutes of the game? That was a joke.
Yeah, that was disappointing. I know it, sitting in Ty Lue's shoes before, when I've had to coach players on minute restrictions and you have to make those decisions. It's just, unfortunately, in today's NBA, the medical staffs just have so much more power than they did, 20 years ago. So those decisions, a lot of times the coach may take the blame for it, but it's just, people that are behind the bench and behind the scenes. But if I'm Paul George and I'm in his shoes, I just walk to the scores table and check back in the game.
Yeah.
Well, Avery, let me ask you this. I mean, first of all, when did the power shift to the medical staff? And I guess the more important question is, does the player have veto right here? Or is this like set in stone and nothing can change it?
Well, I think the player has veto right, especially when you've gotten signed the type of contract Paul George signed in off season. You're the 1B player on the team. You're Robin behind Batman, Kawhi Leonard. I just think it's one of those situations where, the player saying, hey, I know my body. This is very important. I can't look my team in the eye knowing that I sat on the bench the last 2 games after, this guy was really fishing. 6 turnovers, but 34 points, 12 for 9 shooting, 6 rebounds. You got to get back in the game. And that's some of these things, guys, when common sense have to take over. You obviously have some medical protocols, but, how is he functioning? How is he moving? Is anything, you have any type of soreness in any part of your body? If all of those answers are no, then you just got to put him back in the game.
Well, but here's the thing. I just want to follow. Here's what I think very tough about this, Avery. I understand that Coach Lou's got a responsibility. He's beholden to, not just the player, but medical staff. I get it. There's a pecking order there. But to me, this is a big problem for the league here. Because we talk about, believability. When you watch a movie, you want to at least on some level believe, or read a book, whatever it might be, whatever you can get, you want to at least feel as if it's authentic, even if it's not, right? That it's somewhat plausible. If I'm an NBA fan, I don't mean me, because I'm doing this for my job, and I'm watching no matter what anyway, because I love the NBA. But if I'm an average fan, why am I spending money on tickets, not knowing who's playing? Why am I going to invest 3 hours on a Sunday, sit inside and watch a game if I don't know the best player is going to be on the court in the final 3 minutes of the game?
Yeah, that's something that's going to have to be addressed. Whether it's a scheduled rest night for a player, I can see, certain situations if a guy is coming back from an Achilles injury or an ACL, you have to manage it. And then, you have the Andre Drummond situation in Cleveland where he's just sitting out and he's healthy because they're waiting to trade him. I don't get it. And you're a team that has a bunch of young players that's trying to take the step forward with Colin Sexton and Garland and those young players, and now Drummond is out. We can't get Paul George back in the game. But I think that's more of an organizational issue, not just on the coaches.
Okay. We're talking to Avery Johnson. Let me make sure I get it right. NBA champs player, great coach, both in the NBA and college, CBS Sports HQ analyst, CBS Sports Network analyst. I think I got them all. He's with us here on Tiki and Tierney, CBS Sports Radio.
Hey, Avery, BT and I have this, it's not really a debate because he's a different type of basketball fan than I am, meaning he's a greater one than I am, especially in the regular season. We both are fully dialed in the postseason. But how much does the regular season matter? Because I think that might be core to this question that we're talking about.
Well, I think the regular season obviously matters, especially when you're trying to develop, a rotation. You're trying to get some of your young players some experience. But at the end of the day, the best team always wins, no matter what seed they are. And that's why I'm not too alarmed even with the Lakers situation with Anthony Davis. Right now, the Lakers are the best team in the Western Conference, independent of what their record. Mm-hmm. They can finish fifth. They can finish fourth. So I think staying healthy, having a good mental state about your team, having really good chemistry where everybody's feeling good about each other, and having that great communication with the coaching staff, all of those things are important. Accountability, a solid culture. If you have that, it doesn't matter where you finish in the top 4, 5, or 6. If you're the best team and you have all of those strong models in place behind the scenes, you're going to be successful. And it's the same way in the Eastern Conference. You look at the Nets, they starting to develop their culture. Mm-hmm. Milwaukee's struggling. Milwaukee has their best players can't really make an outside shot behind the three-point line, but he's a heck of a player, and he's two-time MVP.
Or a foul shot.
Yeah, a foul shot. So I just think your culture behind the scenes really matters, and you have to be healthy mentally and physically, and everybody's on the same page going into the playoffs. And you have to have, a guy like a LeBron James or Kawhi Leonard when he's on top of his game. You got to have the great players playing their best basketball come playoff time.
Avery, should AD be looking at what went down with KD and say, without saying it, obviously, but listen, if this thing's going to roll up on me, it's going to happen because it's just a freak thing and not because I rushed it back or because I felt compelled to help LeBron carry the burden. We heard the same thing about it's the calf, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's the Achilles. How concerned should Anthony Davis be about his career right now?
You should be very concerned. And they should take a conservative approach, very conservative approach with him because
define conservative. Define that. What do you mean a very conservative? Define that, Coach, if you can. Define conservative. Very conservative approach. What do you mean by that?
Well, he can't sit out for 4 weeks and come back and play and practice one time and then he's ready for a game. No, so you're out for 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Then you ease him back into, 4, 5, 6, 7 practices, see how he recovers. Then, you go a little bit harder. Maybe you can have a little bit of a simulated game with some of your players not named LeBron James, if you can figure it out on an off day. But you have to really be careful and tread lightly in not rushing him back without having significant practice time before he returns to the court for a game.
Okay. No, we saw this with KD, right? He kind of came right back, and the next thing you know, it's done for the season and really the entire following season as well.
He rehabbed, and then you saw him playing 1-on-1 or 2-on-2. It's just not the same level of energy when you're playing 5-on-5 and you're going up and down the floor. And you're cutting and moving. So I just think they're going to have to really figure out a way. He almost needs like a G League assignment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Somewhere he can chill.
He can get some games in.
Yeah, so he can just take it easy and do it. Now let's follow this and ask, what happens if something does happen and he's unavailable for the rest of the season? Oof. Is this Lakers team good enough just with LeBron James to repeat in really in the West and overall?
No way. Come on, Coach. No way.
Yeah, I think what they're good enough for is to potentially win a first-round playoff series.
There you go.
You know, probably against like an inexperienced team, you know, if Memphis or, you know, one of those teams that are inexperienced, that's sitting there in the 8th spot come playoff time, you know, they could possibly squeak by, you know, one of those teams, you know, maybe even a team like Golden State. You know, there's Steph Curry against LeBron, but they'll probably have enough to handle the rest of the Warriors roster. But that's about it. That's as far as they probably can go without Anthony Davis, especially they've significantly taken a hit with the loss of, you know, JaVale McGee. I know people don't want to hear that. Dwight Howard inside, Rajon Rondo's leadership. So, you know, you're talking about leadership, experience, defense, muscle inside, you know, playoff Rondo. So I don't think they would have enough to win the championship. I would predict that the Clippers would be my favorite to win the West if Anthony Davis doesn't return.
Yeah, I think that's probably a pretty fair statement. We're talking to Avery Johnson, former player, coach, analyst, CBS Sports HQ, CBS Sports Network as well. So, you know, Coach, I know you mentioned Drummond, and he's going to be dealt. Blake Griffin's sitting out. I think he's probably more of a buyout candidate. I don't know what you'd really give up for Blake Griffin at this point, but maybe somebody gives a second round or whatever. Those guys will have different addresses. The player that I think could change the balance of power this season, if he's dealt to the right team, and nobody seems to talk about him, is Zach LaVine from the Bulls. If I own the Bulls, I'm keeping him. I'm not trading him. I know you like Kobe. I know you like marketing. What he does, you know, I think Zach LaVine's the most underrated star in basketball. I don't think the average fan sees it. What do you see with LaVine?
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, if I'm a team, even, you know, like the Philadelphia 76ers, you know, they got the best record right now in the East. Is looking good. But, I don't know if they're a candidate to win the East. But LaVine can help put them over the top. He's, you know, you pair him up with Joel Embiid, and, man, you got something really, really special. This kid is dynamite. I mean, he's athletic. He could shoot it from anywhere. He can go off for 50 on you. I mean, he's very talented, unlimited range, much improved ball handler. But you put him on a really good, deep playoff team, you know, something like the, you know, not so much the Suns because they already have Devin Booker. But, you know, if he and Devin Booker and Chris Paul are together, maybe a Portland team, he can help a team like Portland. But
Denver.
I agree with you. Super talented.
Yeah. Coach, the thing that everybody misses about it, or not everybody, I shouldn't keep saying that. The thing that I think a lot of people miss with LaVine, because he's a high flyer, he's won a couple of dunk contests, I think that they overlook his efficiency. Like there's a lot of guys who can jump and who can score that shoot 42%. We've seen those guys our entire life. Zach LaVine is, from every level of the court, a very efficient scorer too, and I think that's what separates him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're looking at LaVine in today's NBA game, you know, if you're shooting 50% from the field and 42% from three, and 86% from the free throw line.
Yeah,
it's pretty efficient. 35 minutes a game. You know, so I just agree with you. He's not necessarily a high volume shooter. You know, shooting 38% from the field. He's pretty efficient, and you know, his team just doesn't know how to win right now. But if I'm the Bulls and somebody were to call and ask for a potential trade with LaVine, I'm hanging the phone up.
Yeah.
But if they take the call, if I'm a team like, you know Phoenix, you know, teams like that, I would be on the hotline. I would be on the hotline with the Bulls.
Yeah. You know, Coach, we're starting to get some inklings about what the second half of the season post All-Star is going to look like. And it seems like there's going to be 5 games a week. I mean, it feels heavy, especially for a season that had a month and a half of an off season. So some of these older players and the guys that are, you know, play deep into the postseason, this is a humongous disadvantage. What's going to be the reaction from a player standpoint?
Well, I remember in '99 when we won the first championship with the Spurs, you know, we had a couple of games where we had to play 3 in a row. And, you know, it was easily 5 games in a week at that point. But I think, this is where coaching is going to have to come in, and you're going to have to really make sure you understand what's going on with your team from a physical standpoint. If any of your players are breaking down, this has been tough on NBA players. And I know, obviously, people always want to talk about the money, but, just the mental health of the players with all of the different COVID protocols and all of the different things they have to do just to accomplish getting on the court, playing the game. And if you're playing 5 games in a week, I think it's going to be very important for coaches to spend more time not just coaching the X's and O's, but making sure they understand from a psychological standpoint what's going on with each player so that you can make sure he gets to his maximum potential when he's on the court.
Coach, give us Tiki and I could actually get to this more thoroughly coming up, but give us 15 seconds or 20 seconds. We're up against it, so it can't be too long. But
okay.
We're going to get into a hardened conversation later as to whether or not he should actually be the leader for the MVP. Right now, give us your top 3. I guess the order's not as important, but if you're voting for the MVP right now, who would you put? Give us your top 3.
Wow. Well, LeBron, obviously, LeBron would be one of the top players. Joel Embiid, and then you can definitely put Harden in that conversation. Durant obviously, he hadn't played as many games, but he could be in that conversation. So I would say those 4 guys, Jokic. He could be in that conversation.
He better be.
No, he's ridiculous.
He better be. Nice. All right. Well, listen, Coach, always good having you on. Avery Johnson, former player, champion, coach, colleague here at CBS Sports HQ, CBS Sports Network analyst. Avery, thanks a lot. Big 3. Avery, thanks a lot, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, guys. Thanks for having me on.
You got it.
Thank
there
you,
you
Avery.
go. Good. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when we drop fresh content.